Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Bad Thought Studios. Today, we're talking Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. Some news came out that we'll talk about the release of season 2 of House of the Dragon. We're also going to talk about some news that dropped about the previous producers, DB Weiss and David Benioff. They had made some comments I want to go over with Colin. Also, we're going to talk about the Hedge Knight in this episode. A little bit of news came out about that. So make sure you guys tune in. First, I'm going to start with Colin. How's everything, Colin? What you been up to, brother?
Going fantastic. Yeah, I'm definitely really excited about House of the Dragon news, and some of the other stuff we're talking about today is definitely really interesting. So, yeah, I'm doing great. How are you, Towns?
I'm good, bro. I'm doing well. I just got done watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. Great fucking
Oh,
show.
nice.
Great
Good.
show. If you have time, you should give that a watch. Did
Yeah.
you watch the animes or the
Oh, yeah.
cartoons?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
was a big fan of the anime. Not a huge big fan of the original movie that came out, but I
Oh
was
hell no.
excited for the show.
Yeah, the show, it's sad. I might do a video on this because it's really something that irritated me is how much negative press this is getting, negative reviews it's getting. Um, I'll say this: a lot of people who watch this were cartoon and anime people, and when it comes to live action, nothing will ever be good enough for them. You know what I'm saying? So it
Totally.
it sucks because show is great. One of my buddies, shout out to Micah, he was telling me how much he's loved it so far, and it is a little bit different from the animes, but yet it's a great live action. And that we'll get into it a whole bunch, but if you get the time, please watch it. And I would love to get your opinion on it too, because I
Oh,
absolutely
for
loved it.
sure. Yeah, I know it's on my short
Absolutely loved
list.
it. What's that?
It's on my short list. I'll definitely be watching it sooner than later.
Hell yeah. It's only 8 episodes, which
Perfect.
is cool. But the best part is they're hour episodes, hour long
Okay, cool.
episodes, which is dope.
And it's all out at once. Uh,
But yeah, if you ever get the chance, go ahead and watch Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think you'll like it. Um,
Absolutely.
but yeah, bro, let's get into it. We're gonna start off with the release date for season 2 of House of the Dragon. It's been reported that House of the Dragon season 2 will premiere in June of this year. Warner Brother Discovery CEO David Zaslav, excuse me if I said that wrong, on HBO's release schedule. The new quarter will have Hacks and House of the Dragon. We are currently in the first quarter of 2024, while the next quarter is April through June. Now, I don't know if you remember, Matt Smith was on a radio show earlier. I think it was either earlier this year or late last year, talking about season 2, and he had mentioned September
Mm,
for the show, or actually August. I think he said August
yeah.
for season 2 to drop, and that was his assumption. I'm not sure if he was giving us some kind of inside info, but I believe his assumption was August. But now we're in June. We're getting a June release. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty awesome. And it could be even before June, it sounds like. So anytime in the second quarter. And, maybe they were planning on doing more reshoots or something because I know that they were doing some reshoots. So maybe they got exactly what they needed done and that accelerated the release date. So I'm not sure, obviously, what goes on behind the scenes there, but definitely seems like it's good news. I think it's, you know, summertime is also a good time to get a show out. So,
Oh yeah.
there might be some marketing reasons behind it as well. But no, I'm super excited. I mean, I don't think that they already haven't rushed it. So no matter what, it's not going to be like, oh, they just put it out immediately after the first season ended. They took their time, they got everything right. So I'm not worried about it at all. I think it's going to be really exciting, and it's like probably my favorite show that's on air right now. So I'm
Yeah.
really excited for it.
Yeah, I am as well. And we were expecting it to be, or I was leaning towards like an August release, but the thing that people kept reporting is they're doing reshoots like you mentioned, and people are saying it might not be August, it might not even be June, they might push it back to December and November. I'm like, guys, they're doing like a week or two of reshoots, which sounds like they have everything already planned out. They have all the the original footage they had shot the first time. I think they're just doing reshoots for security purposes, if just in case something doesn't fit. I don't think it was a major reshoot. They didn't state anything about it being a major reshoot. It could have been a battle scene where they needed some more, special effects, something like in that sort. But I'm excited for June. June, it's sooner than August, so of course we're gonna love seeing it when it comes out. And like you said, they're not rushing it. They did their shoots. They're putting it all together. They're spending 6-7 months, to put it together. I think that's more than enough time for them to put out what they want. They even did the freaking teaser trailer already, so we should be expecting a full trailer here in the next couple months, hopefully. But yeah. I think we're right on schedule with what we anticipated for it to come out.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, next piece of information. Give me 1 second. I think it's this one right here. So this one was kind of weird to me, and I wanted to get your opinion because it's something that we kind of seen the ending of it already. And I think we would have been even more pissed if we had to go and watch it at a movie theater. But
Right.
Game of Thrones was supposed to end with 3 movies, but HBO wasn't interested in bringing the new show to theaters. David Benioff, DB Weiss confirmed that the original plan was to end the series as a film trilogy instead of 13 episodes across 2 seasons. Now, you had stated in the previous episodes that we did that you weren't a fan from 4 to 8, or was it 4 to 8 or 5 to 8? You weren't a fan of 4 to 8.
Yeah,
I personally love. Oh, good.
I was gonna say it's not like holistically. Again, I think that it's important to separate like the show from the book and stuff. And I think the biggest differences emerged season 4. So it was, kind of like to the book reader audience. I think the people who watched that show up until season 3 were like, okay, like it's not exactly word for word, but it's pretty close, and we're getting the gist of it. But then when season 4 rolled around, it just seemed like they kind of jumped the shark on some things, and I don't know. I wish that they had done more, and that's where my concern. That's what you said at the beginning was exactly what I was going to say. It's like if they're just going to tell the same exact story over 3 movies instead of 13 episodes, then we'd be in the exact same situation. So, if that's their excuse to be like, well, we could have done it better if you had just signed us for 3 movies, it's like,
Yeah.
well, I don't believe that.
It's almost like they want DB Weiss, and I loved the first 7 seasons. I'm the 8th season wasn't my favorite. There's a lot of character buildups that we watched for 7 seasons, and it ended with the 2 main characters that we wanted one of them to rule didn't rule the 7 kingdoms. That was my big problem with season 8. Now, it sounds like DB Weiss and David Benioff wanted to be in it sounded like they just wanted to do a movie in general, because they had the Star Wars movie that they want that fell through because of season 8 from what I've read. They wanted to do movies with the last 13 episodes. It just sounds like they wanted to do movies so bad that they were, they didn't like the seasons. Now, and outside looking in, you would think, okay, well, it sounded like they both were pissed off and they just gave us some bullshit. I mean, I don't think that. I really do think they put time and effort into season 8. It just didn't come out how they wanted, or how we wanted it to come out. But it just sounds like they were almost like bitter about not getting any movie, and this is what we got. But
Right.
But like I said, we got 13. We got the last season 7 was great. Season 8, if it ended that way in a movie theater, we would have been even more pissed. So I'm glad we got to see it on TV while we did wait a whole bunch. I think it was like 2-3 years for season 8 to come out, or something like that, something crazy. But yeah, like I said, I would have. I'm glad we saw it where we did, instead of having to pay money at a movie theater and saw an ending to some shit. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And again, I think even in a movie, if you're dealing with 13 essentially 50-minute episodes, that's like 13 hours. And trying to divide 13 hours of content between 3 movies also doesn't sound like were they planning on having 4-hour movies each time? Like, you know what I mean? I feel like even the structure of what they built into it and how they would make that into a movie, it wouldn't have benefited it. It wouldn't have benefited the storytelling aspect of it. And also, it would have been a really weird transition for viewers, I think, to go from episodic storytelling to one big story that encompasses, you know what I mean? It's such a disjointed
Exactly.
story that it benefits the viewer to watch it in episodes, because one episode can be entirely in King's Landing, the next one can be entirely in the North, and you don't feel like it's disjointed because these are two different storylines going on at the same time. In a movie, it's like half the movie's in the North, half the movie's in the South, and then they slowly build them together. Again, I don't know. I think HBO did the right thing by not giving them the option. And then also, if they were bitter about it and that translated into screen, and I get what you're saying there, I really hope that's not the case for them. I feel like, and that's what it seemed like to me, was like they were just burned out by the series in general. Like, it's a big, big story to tell, and you kind of pissed off certain groups of people along the way, and then at the very end, it's like there's so many people that are waiting for a certain type of ending, and when you kind of pull the rug out from everybody, and I guess Game of Thrones is known for that. Oh, you expect it to go one way, and here's a twist, here's a turn. I just felt like it wasn't. It was. I don't want to say lazy, but it was just like, oh, here's the ending. It's just like
Exactly.
plop.
Yep.
Like, cool. This is not what you expected, but it's also like not necessarily the most sense was made of it either. So again, I'm more critical of the show than most people, but at the same time, I want to give credit to like the acting, the character development,
Phenomenal. Yeah.
the set, everything that they did to make the show what it was. I mean, they really changed the way that TV stories are told.
They set a
I
standard.
think yeah, I think of like, oh, I watched Game of Thrones, and then I don't know if you guys ever watched it or if you remember the show House of Cards, with Kevin Spacey, where he's like this politician guy. And I remember when that show came out, they were like, oh, this is like Game of Thrones. Like this is like Game of Thrones in American politics. It's like, well, that's unfortunately probably just American politics, but at the same time, like, you had a lot of things that were started after the Game of Thrones hype was there, that were intricate storytelling, a lot of different characters, a lot of different motivations, and a lot of things going on that you don't know about until you do. So, and I think that was like, the suspense type of storytelling was kind of enhanced by Game of Thrones. And it also, in a lot of ways, I think it brought a lot of like fantasy into the mainstream,
Oh
where
yeah.
people before were, oh, that's for nerds, or oh, I'm too good for that, or I don't know, maybe. But then at the same time, it's like, but you can't not watch this like amazing, the show of our lifetime. You know what I mean? Like, this show kind of defines our lifetimes. Like, MASH was that, you know what I mean? And then Happy Days was that. Like, there are these shows that are so iconic for the time period that I don't think, regardless of Dungeons and Dragons, regardless of Game of Thrones success,
Yeah.
it's still an iconic piece of work. And I think that for that, it needs to be, given the praises that it deserves. But at the same time, they could have done better at the ending. And I'm happy it did turn into 3 movies, because I don't want
Yep.
to have to pay like $70 to watch the last 3.
Yeah, exactly. And like I've stated before, the character arcs for Daenerys and Jon Snow, to me, have gone down in history as one of the two of the best character arcs you can ever have. They went from literally being nothing and having nothing to two of the most powerful people in the Westeros. And for it to end with none of those, like, I could see if one of them was killed off, or like when Jon Snow died in season 6, it I could see if it ended there, like, okay, like, leave Jon Snow there, but it didn't, and they brought him back to
Right.
life, and he was meant for something bigger. Now, what was it that he was meant for? To kill Daenerys? That it
Yeah,
just doesn't
exactly.
make sense. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't meant to die there. And when he finally, the main thing that um we can point out would be killing Daenerys, and I just don't think that was good enough for that part of the show. And the way it ended, we all were very upset. And you brought up it being lazy, and that's what it felt like. It felt like they were burnt out for the show, which is fine. Like, I understand that it was like a 10-11 year span of great fucking TV. And we can't also discard what they did for the first 7 seasons. Like, they put out
Totally.
amazing work the first 7 seasons, the acting, the writing. They didn't write the source material, but they wrote the script. They wrote the scripts for the show. And you got to give them their credit when credit's due. But at the same time, it's like, in a way, some people think you ruined that through one season of Game of Thrones, and it sucks. It really sucks, because I was really a big fan of them. And laziness was the first thing. I'm not calling them lazy. Like I said, they might have been burnt out, but it sucks that it ended the way it did, because of how iconic the series ended up being. It's probably going to go down as in my lifetime, one of the best TV shows ever. You know,
Exactly.
so we'll see. So the last thing I want to bring up, it kind of alludes to what the next subject is. Um, it's going to be, bring it up. Game of Thrones prequel series, The Hedge Knight, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, The Hedge Knight, is looking to premiere in 2025. In case you guys didn't know, season one of this series is being filmed this year. I believe sometime in the summertime as well. Probably. Actually, I'm not even going to say day, because I'd be guessing at that point. Um, it the one thing the reason why I wanted you on here, not because you're just amazing at knowing everything Game of Thrones, but you had mentioned to me before in a previous episode that this Hedge Knight wasn't finished. Like, there was no ending to this series. He wrote 3 novellas of this series, from what I gathered. Is that correct? 3
Yes,
series.
yeah,
He's
there are three
so
out, and three novellas are out right now.
okay.
And then there's one that I think is pretty close to being published, so we're almost to four. So
Okay.
yeah, but
So
three are
so
officially out.
So and the reason why I want to get your opinion, because we've seen what it looks like when George R. Martin doesn't finish something, hence season 8, well, season 7 and season 8. But we are again starting a new series of something that isn't finished. Um, I'm scared. I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty scared on how well I believe this is gonna go for the first 3 seasons, or however they do it. Um, but because it doesn't have an ending, I'm kind of nervous. I don't want it to happen again like season 8 did, with not having an ending written down. I should say a source material that they can allude to for this ending, unless that 4th book somehow comes out, which I I don't want to doubt George R. R. Martin, but it's not looking right. It's not looking great right now. But yeah, what's your opinion on this? Do you think it's gonna do well? Do you think it's gonna have a shitty ending? What's your opinion?
Well, so I'm really excited about the series in general. The Night of the Seven Kingdoms, or commonly referred to as like the Dunk and Egg stories,
Yeah.
um, are such a change of tone from the A Song of Ice and Fire series. Like, the literature, it's all written the same way. George R. R. Martin has a very unique style, I think, but the tone is way more lighthearted. It's a lot more. There's a lot more comic relief, and they deal with serious stuff. But, like, I don't know. I'm really excited to see it translated, and there is an ending, because this is basically telling, like, the tale of and I don't want to spoil too much, but it's basically telling a story that is set in the history of Westeros. I want to say 70 years before, or like 50 years before Game of Thrones is comes out. So um it's there is an ending that is canon. It's just
Okay.
like that story of these two characters in that ending isn't written, but we do know how it ends. Like we know what happens to both of these characters at the end of their life. Like there is an end of their
Oh,
life. So we
okay.
do know everything is written. So this is just kind of like supposed to fill in the blanks as to like why is Dunk or Duncan the Tall? Why is he? How did he get from being this hedge knight to being the basically the
Kingsguard.
Lord Commander of the King's Guard? Yeah. Um, so it's again, it's really interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm not as worried about the content like that because again, it's not like Game of Thrones or A Song of Ice and Fire where the book ending not only hasn't been written, but it also hasn't been written in any format. So like there's
Okay.
nothing to base it on. So like does Daenerys go crazy and kill everybody at the end of the books? I don't know. Does Jon have to kill her? I don't know. Probably not. Like I mean, Arya's not going to kill the Night King. You know what I mean? Like that's there's no way that's going to happen in the books. It just doesn't make any sense with the way that the books are written. She shouldn't even be in Winterfell or the North. So there's a whole thing there. But I do
I
think
forgot
that
about
like
that. Yeah.
oh, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean she's still in Bravos. Like she's still training. Like at the end of the book where we are. Like she's murdering people, but she's doing it as part of her training.
Is she real quick? Don't lose your
Yeah,
train of thought because I want to ask you this
I
question.
know.
When you first saw her kill the Night King, were you like at awe because of how she did it? Because it was pretty cool to me. I enjoyed the way she dropped the knife and fucking gutted him. But
Caught
at the
it.
same
Yeah.
time, were you kind of pissed off that it was her rather than John?
I mean, it's kind of a loaded question because there isn't a Night King. Like in the books, there's not one guy. It's like they don't know anything about them. So it's just like the others and then the White Walkers, and the others are like the ice elves or whatever. Um, so it's like,
Ah,
is there one guy to kill? Even you know what I mean? Probably not. What and without getting too deep into the theory, but what it seems like is that the White Walkers and the others are like waiting for something specific. And I think what they're waiting for is for Jon Snow to become their Night King. So I
okay.
think that they are like waiting for this person of a certain bloodline, just like everybody is in the books. They're waiting for this perfect prophesied kid. And the prologue of the first book is a guy who looks very much like Jon Snow fighting the others, and they're like kind of like doing this back and forth with him, and then it's obvious that they're like, oh, this isn't the guy we're waiting for, and they just butcher him to death really quick. Like they're doing this whole like song and dance, like, oh yeah, let's fight with our
Yeah.
swords, but that guy doesn't have a Valyrian steel sword. He's powerful. He's a Royce. He's got a like a family behind him and stuff, but like he's not the chosen one. He's not like that guy.
Yeah.
So I do think that the way that the show is gonna, or the way that the books are gonna end in regards to all of that is gonna be so radically different. And we should almost do a standalone episode on the differences between Euron Crozai, the guy that's like the Pirate King, like
Yeah. Yeah.
how he's portrayed in the books and how he's portrayed in the show. Like he is such a bigger character in the books. Like he's bringing upon some like apocalyptic style stuff. Like he's doing rituals and seances, and he's drinking the shade of the evening. Like he's a crazy character, and he's a really
Wow.
good character, and they really did him dirty in the show. And that's why again it's tough to see this guy because he's like a swarmy, like kind of like a smiling guy, and then it's
Yeah.
just like, no, it's not really how he is. Like he's a psychopath, and he's like out there like literally willing to kill anyone. But anyway, sorry. As far as it goes,
Very
this
good.
this the Hedge Knight series, or the I don't know what they're gonna call. Is it officially the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, and then the first
Yeah.
season's gonna be the Hedge Knight?
Yes. Yes. That's
Okay.
that's what I've read. Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the Hedge Knight.
And if
That
they're
that's
doing
what
it
they
in
have so
this,
far.
and if they're doing it in a series like so, I do think that because there's a title, I think it's called The Wolves of Winterfell, is the fourth book. So I would really want George R. R. Martin to finish that just because one, I really want to read it, but two, I think that the the way that it will be portrayed, to look at Winterfell a little bit in the past, and to kind of see
Hmm.
some of the differences. It's like in House of the Dragon, you get to see these Starks that are like way older than the Ned Stark that we all know and love, and it's kind of like they're a different brand. And I want to see all of these people in the past, But again, I think that the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms series itself is going to be a lot of fun. I'm not nearly as concerned about it because the books are really short. So if they did an entire, season off of one book, I think it's like the perfect length for a show, per book. And there isn't a lot of like canon content because it's that they can mess with, because it's like what happens in there is so simple, but it's like it tells you what's going to happen later on in the show. Like if you read that first and then read Song of Ice and Fire series, you'd be like, oh, this is referencing this and this is referencing this.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah,
Man,
and another
you
person.
put me at ease, bro. You put me at ease.
Good.
Thank you.
Don't be worried. I think it's going to be awesome. I'm really excited for that too. I really want to see who the casting is for it as well, because they got to find some guy that's like giant, because like
Yeah.
he's supposed to be like kind of like the mountain. Like he's just a giant
Wow.
dude who's
Okay.
like big, broad, and tall, and like just can waylay with a sword. Like he's a cool character, but he's also super humble. It's kind of one thing I will say about the series that I think is kind of the biggest point of it, is that he acts in the way that a knight should. So it's like they have
Mm.
these knightly code of honor, like protect the weak, protect,
Don't
the
fuck the
small folk.
princess.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Ah,
But
Kristen Cole.
that exactly. But that type of thing is definitely like uh it's gonna be an interesting take on the world, because we usually in the Game of Thrones show, the righteous people are the ones that get killed. And
Hmm.
so it's like in this show, it's kind of like this one righteous dude has a way of not getting himself killed, and also being able to pursue this life of being a true knight and doing all of the things. Like he's apolitical. He's like, I don't care if I have to slap a prince. If the prince is acting dishonorably, then it's my responsibility as a knight to prevent him from doing whatever it is he's doing. So anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun. It'll be really cool, and I think it'll be a lot better than, especially because I'm not sure who's running it now, but I think that the D&D combo, the David and David, are not involved in very much of the Game of Thrones stuff anymore. So I think that again, it's like you had your shot, you didn't necessarily finish strong. So we're gonna pass the reins on to other people, and that's what I'm also really excited about, is just getting to see everybody's individual take on this universe. It's not like the same directors and writers staff for each individual spin-off series. It's like a completely new staff. And again, I just think that it's going to make it a much more enjoyable experience, and we'll get to see a lot more creative input from that. But this is set in stone. It should be very easy for them to write and produce because it's already there, and it's pithy. It's very short. So I'm stoked. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this, and I'm excited to see a different side of Westeros, because they're, from what you told me, they're going to be pretty much going to every kingdom and visiting every part of Westeros, and they're going to bring a different kind of, aspect. When we watch Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, we don't see them really travel like the common folk. That we see them
Right.
either on Dragonback or um on a boat heading to Westeros, or Daenerys was on a dragon most of the time when she did get to Westeros. So it would be cool to see. Egg doesn't have a actually, don't tell me, I don't want to know. I'm not I
I
don't
was about
want
to
to
say
know.
I'm trying my very best to avoid any spoilers.
Yeah, but it's I from what you've told me about this show, and it wasn't much, so he didn't spoil it for me, but he kind of gave me like what they do. They pretty much go around Westeros, him and Egg, and yeah, it's gonna be a breath of fresh air. It's gonna be not as politic. It's not gonna be as politish, or how can I say it? It's not gonna be all about politics rather than
Right.
their journey. So I'm totally excited for this for sure. I'm
Yeah, and
trying to look.
they have their own version of politics in it. Like it's kind of like just dealing with the lords and stuff, but it's definitely not like this planetary or countrywide politicking. Like, oh, I really am. I'm going to screw this guy over all the way over here. It's like it's all centralized to where they are. The problems that they deal with are all about that specific area. It usually has nothing to do with, well, whatever's going on in Winterfell is going to be like something that I need to be paying attention to because it might trickle down here. It's like really small picture stuff, which is, again, refreshing in a lot of ways.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, guys. So drop in the comments and let us know what you guys think of the news. Are you guys excited for Knights of the Seven Kingdoms? Do you think June is a perfect date for us to watch season 2? And let us know if you guys would have preferred movies over the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones, because I'm really curious to see what people thought about that rather than just us, because we were on the side of the TV show just because we saw what the ending was going to be about. And we'd rather see that at the comfort of our own home rather than at a movie theater next to a dude who doesn't wear deodorant. So I'm glad I'm glad we got to see this. But Colin, thank you again for joining me, bro. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We are going to be doing episode by episode reactions to House of the Dragon season 2. So let us know in the comments if you guys are excited for that as well, because I'm excited for it. It's going to be 2 other people will be joining us, or 3 people actually. But yeah, 3. But anyway, yeah, drop in the comments and let us know what you guys thought. But yeah, Colin, thank you for joining me, bro. Appreciate it.
Always happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to all this new Game of Thrones stuff. It's going to be awesome.
Hell yeah. Colin doesn't have social media, guys. So go ahead and drop some questions in the comment section if you guys have any for him. If you guys want to follow me on social media, Tones_TV on all platforms. Go follow my TikTok, guys. Tones_TV on TikTok. The link will be in the description below. I do most of my content right away when I hear news come out. So if you guys want to hear some news that comes out right away, it will be on my TikTok first, and then we will do an episode on YouTube. So TikTok.com/Tones_TV. All right. Follow the podcast, Bad Thoughts Podcast, on YouTube and Spotify as well. All right. Hope you guys have a great night. Love y'all.